You know what almost every gardener gets wrong? They treat their organic waste like trash, tossing banana peels, coffee grounds, and veggie scraps into the compost pile without thinking about timing or placement. Most people assume that throwing these things on top of soil or into a pile magically makes their garden richer in a few weeks. The reality is completely different. Dumping peels on soil without proper integration can attract pests, create localized nutrient imbalances, and even slow down microbial activity if you're not careful. I've seen perfectly healthy raised beds turn into pest magnets or uneven nutrient zones because someone thought banana peels were just free fertilizer. Before I go further, if you care about getting real results from your garden, subscribe to the channel. This is the kind of hands-on tested knowledge you won't find in generic gardening guides. I've buried banana peels in backyard plots, raised beds, and even tried integrating them into hydroponic nutrient cycles. The results were shocking, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how it works, and what you absolutely need to avoid. The first thing you need to understand is how banana peels actually break down. They're not just organic matter, they are concentrated sources of potassium, phosphorus, and some nitrogen, but their breakdown rate depends entirely on contact with soil microbes, moisture levels, and the size of the pieces you're burying. A whole peel in a raised bed might sit for weeks with very little effect, while thinly chopped peels integrated with other organic matter release nutrients quickly. In my experience, cutting them into roughly 2 to 3 centimeter strips makes the difference between an almost invisible effect and a rapid boost in plant health. You also have to pay attention to the depth. I've experimented with burying banana peels at the surface, shallowly at about 2 inches and deeper around 4 to 6 inches. Surface placement attracts fruit flies and sometimes ants, which can be frustrating if you're trying to maintain a clean, raised bed. Shallow placement works in a backyard garden where you have regular cover crops or mulch, but deeper placement, around 4 inches, is where I saw the most consistent results. The peels integrate with soil microbes without inviting pests, and the nutrients release steadily, rather than shocking the roots all at once. In a raised bed scenario, I typically take a handful of peels per square foot and chop them up, then lightly mix them into the top 4 inches of soil. I make sure the bed is moist but not saturated, because overly wet conditions slow microbial activity and can create anaerobic pockets that smell awful. This method has consistently increased flowering and fruit set in tomatoes and peppers in my beds. One season, I buried roughly 10 chopped banana peels under a bed of spinach and lettuce, and within 3 weeks, the leaves were noticeably darker, more vibrant, and faster growing than the untreated sections. It's not magic, it's controlled microbial activity feeding readily available nutrients. Hydroponic systems are a little different, and most guides get this wrong. You cannot just toss banana peels into a nutrient reservoir and expect plants to flourish. The organic matter will rot, clog pumps, and destabilize your pH. What works is creating a fermented peel extract. I take chopped peels, add a liter of water, a pinch of molasses to feed the microbes, and let it sit for 5 to 7 days. I stir it daily, then strain the liquid and dilute it about 1 to 10 before adding it to the hydroponic solution. This provides a gentle boost of potassium and phosphorus without introducing solids that can ruin your system. In multiple trials with lettuce and basil, I noticed stronger root development and faster growth compared to standard hydroponic feed alone. One trade-off I need to be honest about is odor. Banana peels ferment, and they can smell if left on the surface or buried too shallowly in warm soil. Covering with a thin layer of compost or soil prevents most of this, but it's not something you can ignore if you're gardening in a tight backyard or near neighbors. Another limitation is that banana peels alone will not solve nutrient deficiencies. If your soil is acidic, compacted, or lacking calcium, adding peels will only improve potassium and phosphorus. I've had gardeners send me photos thinking their banana peels would fix everything: pest pressure, pH, nitrogen deficiency. They won't. You have to understand what problem you're trying to solve. Timing also matters. I've had the best results when adding peels 2 to 3 weeks before planting, or during early vegetative growth for perennials. If you bury peels right before planting seeds, the nitrogen draw from decomposition can temporarily slow germination. In one trial with carrots, placing chopped peels immediately under seeds slowed initial growth, but by the 3rd week, the plants had overtaken untreated rows. The lesson is to plan your peel placement as part of your garden's nutrient cycle, rather than a last-minute hack. A point most gardeners ignore is that banana peels are a microbial booster. They contain simple sugars that feed beneficial bacteria and fungi. If you bury them in beds that are already alive with microbes, decomposition is quick and nutrient cycling is accelerated. But if your soil is dead, compacted, or over-sanitized with chemicals, the peels sit there for weeks with minimal benefit. I always recommend integrating peels with other organic matter, like shredded leaves or coffee grounds, to provide a balanced carbon-to-nitrogen ratio. In one raised bed, I mixed 3 parts chopped leaves to 1 part banana peel, and, within a month, the soil had a visible increase in earthworm activity and tilth. Another tip I learned from testing this in real-world conditions is to monitor for pests. Fruit flies can be a problem if peels are exposed, but covering them and mixing into the soil mitigates most issues. I've never had slug problems increase from buried peels, but in very wet conditions, a shallow surface layer can invite slugs. If you're working with hydroponics, the extract method avoids all of these pests entirely. For gardeners who want consistency across multiple beds, I recommend a peel rotation. Instead of dumping all peels in one bed, distribute them evenly across several beds over a month or two. This prevents hotspots of nutrient concentration, encourages uniform growth, and maintains soil structure. For small backyard gardens, that might be as little as 1 chopped peel per square foot, spread across the bed and lightly covered. For larger raised beds, I've used 15 to 20 peels per 4 by 8 foot bed per growth cycle. This is enough to see meaningful results without overwhelming the soil. In conclusion, banana peels are far more than scraps. They are concentrated, slow-release nutrient boosters when used correctly. The key is proper chopping, correct depth, integration with living soil, and timing. They are not a substitute for a complete nutrient plan, but they are one of the most overlooked and effective ways to enhance soil biology and plant growth without expensive inputs. Whether you're growing in the ground, raised beds, or hydroponic systems, the results speak for themselves. I've tested it repeatedly, and the difference between beds with and without properly buried banana peels is unmistakable in color, growth rate, and yield. If you want to grow better food and get results that matter, subscribe to the channel. I post tested, practical methods that serious gardeners can apply immediately. Share this video with anyone who thinks banana peels are just trash, and start using what's freely available in your kitchen to grow healthier, stronger plants. Your garden and your taste buds will thank you.